And welcome back to Project Independence and You here at WCWP.org, 88.1 FM. Also, great app, WCWP Radio, where you can just listen live. And we have County Executive Laura Curran, who joined Project Independence and You. And it's so wonderful to have you on. Laura, so you're going to give us some updates on Nassau County. What's happening?
Well, hello, and it's so nice to be with you back on Project Independence Radio. I'm always happy to be here. So we've got a lot of news to talk about. We hit this week a really important milestone. We have 500,000 of our residents have had at least one dose of the vaccine. So that's about half of our adult population.
Wow.
We've got 4 sites that the county's running. We're running at Nassau Community College, Yes We Can Community Center. We have a smaller one at LIU Post. And a couple of weeks ago, we opened at the Coliseum, which is up to about 300 a day now. So we're seeing our hospitals are doing a great job. We're partnering with Great Neck to get vaccines up there. We're doing a community pop-up up there. We were doing Freeport this week. So we're trying to encourage people. If you're eligible, make an appointment, roll up your sleeve, get the vaccine. And I understand that a lot of people have vaccine hesitancy. A lot of people are, they're not quite sure if it's safe or if it's trusted, if it's effective. So we're just trying to get information out there. We're doing all kinds of webinars and Facebook Lives with doctors from all different communities to kind of demystify, myth bust, as it were. About some of the things. And, obviously not still, I understand that you will never get everyone comfortable with taking it, and that's fine. We just want to make sure that people have the information that they need to make an informed decision for their health and for the community's health. I mean, we really do see this vaccine. I've had my first dose last week as a way to get back to normal, to get our businesses running, to get kids in school, to bring a little more normal back into our lives, so we can be social again. I think everyone's craving that.
Oh, most certainly. With Project Independence too, County Executive, we are providing transportation for Project Independence members in the town of North Hempstead to most sites. Our Project Independence transportation program has always been more within the perimeters of North Hempstead, but we are taking them to the county. We are taking our seniors 60 and over to a lot of the sites that are just kind of outside the boundaries. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do Jones Beach, but if you're a resident of the town of North Hempstead, you can call 311 and Project Independence Transportation will take you to and pick you up to any of these sites that are kind of closer. Certainly Nassau Coliseum is in there and the college is in there.
Yeah, the Northport VA for vaccines is
right. And there's no cost because during COVID, Project Independence Transportation has been cashless because we want to reduce the risk of transferring between the driver and the rider, just making sure that there's as little risk as possible, spreading germs in that way. So if you are a resident of the town of North Hempstead and these sites that County Executive Curran just mentioned, you can call 311 or 869-6311 and or go ahead and arrange your transportation.
I have
your
a question, which is via my granddaughter, who's a social worker who deals with a lot of elderly people. And she was hoping that you could give an update on COVID vaccine for the homebound.
Yeah, that's a question that continues to come up. I'm hoping to have something to announce on that next week. We have a strategy. It's not fully baked yet, but I'm looking forward to getting this done to get folks who are homebound the vaccine. It will be much easier when we get more Johnson & Johnson because that's one and done, and you don't have to do that follow-up visit. So we're hoping to do it with Johnson & Johnson. This is something that we are strategizing on every day. How do we get homebound? In the meantime, I want to commend the town of North Hempstead for providing these rides. It is invaluable, the service that you are doing. And I know that the seniors I'm glad that they're taking advantage of it. And I'm glad that you're doing it for them. We're also finding that a lot of seniors are having a hard time getting an appointment. They might not be as tech savvy. So we have a phone line that we set up, the hotline for seniors. It's 516-227 9590, and it will connect you with a real live human being at our Department of Social Services to help secure your appointment for you. And I also wanted to let our veterans out there know that we have vaccines just for them at Nassau University Medical Center. And that's, I can give you that number if you'd like. You can contact our veterans, the Nassau County Veterans Services Agency directly to make an appointment. Again, that's a phone number, which can be a lot easier. It's 516-572-6565. And that's right in East Meadow at the hospital, Nassau University Center.
That's terrific.
Yes, because, making the schlep out to Northport might not be so easy for some of our seniors. This is a little closer. And it also, it's good for their spouses and family members as well.
Really? That's wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
We're in a stage here where people are starting to, we're in the danger zone probably, where people are starting to let loose a little bit. And yet, on the other hand, we have to be careful. But what I'm looking at lately, I've been reading a lot about vaccine passports, New York State mobile app, Excelsior Pass. What's the counties and your thinking in terms of where that's going to go? Where do you visualize this?
Well, I'll give you a concrete example. Last night I went to the Islanders game at the Coliseum. So because I'm not fully vaccinated, I had to have a COVID test. I had the COVID test. I had the piece of paper with me, but the person I was with has been fully vaccinated. And he had an app on his phone that you could scan it where it shows that you're fully vaccinated. So I imagine that the pass will be used for things like that, for, entrance into big events, into ball games. And it's just an easy way to prove that you've been vaccinated. Now, I know some people have some concerns about privacy and all of this, and that's something that does have to be sorted out. But in the meantime, I do think it's a convenient way to show that you've been vaccinated. So my goal is to, of course, increase capacity at places like the Coliseum. It's at 10% capacity. In a big building like that, they can safely accommodate more. The more people are vaccinated, the more people are comfortable or going out, the more they can prove they're vaccinated. I think that will help increase capacity, bring the economy back, bring the jobs back, get the kids back in school, all the things that we really need. We really need for society to function properly again.
Laura, do you know, was that app that the New York State Excelsior Pass thing? Or
I think it was.
Yeah, because otherwise they're talking about the card that we received as being an ID.
Right.
To be honest about that, my problem with that is there are people out there who aren't quite as honest as the rest of us, and it would be fairly easy to make a card.
Yeah, that's a good point, Otto. Yeah, it would be. It would be. I mean, I think our folks here in Nassau have proven themselves to be pretty honest and pretty trustworthy. I would hope that would continue.
Right.
Because, we've heard this phrase a million times. We're all in it together. And we don't want to blow it. We don't want to have to go backwards by, having more spread happening. And I have to remind everyone, the virus is still out there. Our infection rate is still, we're still getting 500-600 a day in Nassau County testing positive. There's more travel. Perhaps folks are letting their guard down. The good news, however, is that the hospitalization rate continues to decrease. So while we've kind of plateaued with infection rate, hospitalization rate has decreased because I think so many of our seniors and so many of our vulnerable population have been vaccinated. So it's the younger, folks maybe without the comorbidities where we're seeing more of the spread.
Right. So it's still so important to practice safety, still wearing the mask, still washing hands, even if you have both your shots, your 2 weeks past. I know my mother's a senior and she had not really been out, and she, finally had her second dose, and she went to the supermarket for the first time several weeks later. And she's starting to, go to her appointments, but she's still super careful. And it's still, it's very important to continue all the safety protocols, even after you've been, vaccinated or have antibodies.
Yeah, and the other thing is all of those concerns that people have about the variants that are more contagious, we know that all that stuff we've been talking about for months works for whatever variant it is. So I sort of, when people start getting very concerned and getting afraid of the variants, I say, look, but what you were doing works. So just keep doing that. And then of course, if you are vaccinated and you're with other vaccinated people, of course you can,
Right.
You can use, I trust people to use common sense. We don't have to go crazy here.
You had
Right.
quite a spread in Newsday today, which I did not get an opportunity to read yet, but there was like 4 pages about you and COVID. For people who are listening, if you want to really read about COVID.
If you haven't gotten enough COVID news.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's
You
their
want to know.
project. So the reporter, Scott Idler, has been working on this for months. He and I were speaking in real time as the pandemic was progressing.
Kenny,
So-
Executive Curran, if you have
Yes.
a moment too, we have to take a quick break
Okay.
right now, and we'll be back in just a moment. You've been listening
Sounds
to
good.
Project Independence in You with County Executive Laura Curran. We'll be right back.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
What's a podcast and how much does it cost?
so I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
I see, but where can you find good ones?
and I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
Oh, that sounds easy.
and then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
And welcome back to Project Independence and You here at WCWP.org, 88.1 FM. And before break, we were speaking with Nassau County Executive Laura Curran, and we're so happy to have you here and giving us a lot of updates on COVID and all the opportunities now there are to actually get vaccinated. So I know, Otto, you had a question before break. You were talking about the article that was in today's Newsday.
Yeah, so Laura doesn't get a breather when
No.
COVID ends. Legalized recreational pot, I suspect, will consume a fair amount of your energy. And I was just wondering if you had a thought on the topic at this point in time. I don't believe it's going to take true effect until 2022, but a lot of things have to happen before that, I'm sure, to put that whole thing in place. And, just interested in your thought on it.
Sure. So we saw the legislature approved it. The governor signed it this week. I do have some concerns about this. My biggest concern, because we're such a car culture down here, is that there is no sort of uniform technology for testing driving while high. We have it for testing driving while drunk, but I know that the technology is evolving quickly and maybe something will emerge, but right now there's no known technology for doing this accurately. That's a big concern for me. I mean, I don't know about you, but I already smell it when I'm driving on the parkway. I still, people are, smoking it in the car. That is very, very concerning. The other concern that I have is the revenue issue. So Nassau County, we've got the police department, we've got the health department, we have the Department of Social Services. We try to support nonprofits, drug treatment nonprofits.
Right.
And will the revenue offset those costs? We don't know. That is a concern for me. So we need to address those concerns. They remain concerns. I hear it from constituents that the driving while high technology is also something I hear a lot of our residents say, how are you going to test this? How do you know? I mean, it's a serious thing. We drive. There are already too many drunk driving accidents. And you add marijuana to the mix, I'm concerned that it will get worse.
And there's also, marijuana has always kind of been looked at as, not super dangerous, not addictive, where we know today that a lot of it is coded and made to be more addictive. So, I mean, with it becoming legal, hopefully there'll be more regulations on that. But that being said, we're going to find more people using and freely using. And I think that there is a lack of services for even, young people today who are chronic pot smokers, because it's not really looked at as, it's not as dangerous as alcohol. And really what happens, you're just become a little unambitious. But I think that if this, when this becomes legal, they have to implement programs to help people get off of marijuana, just like with weed. Just like with alcohol. And I agree with you totally too, about if someone's driving high, how do you determine it, I think there has to be services on the other end too. If you're legalizing it, you also have to have the right programs for people who want to stop.
I think a lot of people are concerned about theoretically, supposedly it doesn't, but what does it lead to? If all of a sudden marijuana is not sufficient, it's like people who drink. All of a sudden beer is not enough. Now I have to start having shots of whiskey. What's the next level? And is that a legitimate concern? I would say yes. In some cases, I would say it leads to the next step. And that could be a problem because
the other concern is more sort of sociological. What you're saying, I agree with, is that if it's legal, then young people are going to think, oh, it's legal, it can't be that bad. And then it will lead to more of it. And there is an apathy and a lack of ambition that you refer to, Rebecca, that does concern me. I don't know if that serves kids as their brains are forming, as they're learning how to deal with difficult situations and how to, handle them and tackle through them and get through them. Will this kind of blunt that? No pun intended. Will it impede some of that really important mental development that happens in the later teenage years and the early 20s?
Oh, absolutely. I think that is pretty much proven, and can it come back? I think there's what happens when the kids start smoking at a very young age is they tend to see some level of maturity at that point, kind of doesn't develop. They kind of stay at that point, just in some ways, not in all ways. it is a concern. It's always been a concern. And now with the potential of it being legal, it just has to be, put out there.
More thought out, and I think it's important, if you're going to do this to have, on the flip side, as you said, services in place, so it's like with anything that, you're now introducing in a different capacity. I think it's important to have, that.
Well, a lot of kids nowadays are on these e-cigarette things, and if they're going to do that, then they might as well not. I'm not encouraging it by any means, but their mentality might be, well, let's try this other stuff. What can we lose, right? You could.
And with the vaping, they can do higher concentrations, whether it's nicotine. They can become addicted really quickly to nicotine. It's less unpleasant than smoking a cigarette, or whether it's THC, higher concentrations and getting more stoned.
Well, you have a full plate there, County Executive. Let me tell you. But
never a dull moment in Nassau. That's
never a dull moment. But you are always out there, and your leadership has just been fantastic. We're grateful to have you here on the show. It's great for our seniors and hopefully anyone else who's listening. Anything else happening in the county that is exciting and new? What about any plans for events? Are we going to do, the parks, and how will that be managed? How do you think that will be managed maybe a little bit differently than last summer?
Right. This is the time of year when you start thinking about the summer activities. So we're opening. This is a South Shore thing, maybe not a Town of North Hempstead thing, but we're opening up our, cabanas at Nickerson Beach. We're going to allow people to socialize outside of it sounds so silly to say, but, people can be free to socialize at their cabanas and that sort of thing. We are having conversations about the park. We have these wonderful concerts at Lakeside Park and Eisenhower Park.
Right.
See how we can do those in a way that fits within the guidelines, keeps people safe, but also brings back some more of that fun that people are so used to having. My goal is to have as normal a summer as possible, a great Long Island summer.
I like that.
Everything we can to make that happen.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. That's so great to hear. I mean, it's like it's almost like, we didn't expect to hear it. Like up until like even just a few weeks ago, I was still thinking, okay, it's going to be, another tight summer and kind of sticking close to home and no traveling. But it just seems like things are starting to open up. And I love seeing the articles where, music venues are starting to open and we could start, kind of our planning. And of course, I think yesterday was the first day. If you're traveling from another state, you don't need to quarantine anymore. So if you're coming in, I don't know if it's every state, but I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I think it's every state, domestic, like obviously in the United States.
Right, yeah.
Now,
Domestic.
something Laura doesn't know is that tomorrow is Kristina Lou's birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday.
And normally,
Thank you.
Kristina Lou's birthday is a major celebration in the studio. This is the
Yes.
second year in a row now.
I know I got shafted
with-
2 years in a row.
Exactly. So happy
We'll have
birthday.
to celebrate extra.
That's right.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Thank
We'll
you
raise a
so
toast to you.
much. Thank you so much for joining us. We have to go to a break right now. I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday, Kristina. And we'll be
Thank you.
right back after this short break.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
And welcome back to Project Independence in You. I'm Rebecca Miller. I'm your guest host and also talking a lot about a journey into mindfulness, and Kristina Lou, the radio show producer, and Otto Los, the forever co-host of Project Independence in You. We just, for the last half hour, was speaking with the Nassau County Executive, Laura Curran, who's just really terrific and talking a lot about, difficult stuff. I mean, it's certainly not easy being a leader in any capacity, in any type of government position during
Yeah, and then
COVID.
in this world, I can't even.
Let alone on top of that, with marijuana becoming potentially legal and all the things that, come up with that. So really appreciate, but, she did definitely put the light that we're going to be, seeing parks open and some normalcy coming back.
Yeah, and I just have to
this
think,
summer.
this is the third week in a row. And listen, we certainly know she's got quite the busy schedule. I mean, she's running around all the time. We see her everywhere. And the fact that it just shows how she cares about, the residents, because this is the third week in a row she's come on our show, to give these updates. And I think it's just a testament to our program that we're able to have, up-to-date information that is great, because a lot of this is positive, moving in the right direction information, and then I think it helped with people's mindfulness, to hear these little tidbits that we will have a better summer, than last summer and whatnot. So it gives you that little hope, which I think ties into mindfulness, certainly.
And that we can manage our summer a little bit
That's
better
right.
too, instead of controlling. Because certainly for the people that are really into control, which is what we were speaking about before we were speaking with the county executive, is you can't control this COVID thing. I mean, it must really be complicated for people who are just used to doing and controlling and managing people's lives and that kind of a thing. So hopefully they've been able to let go of that.
Beck, don't look at me when you say that. Okay. No, absolutely. I think it's just, it's certainly something that was an adjustment, and that's why I really do, in all seriousness, think that this topic is important all the time, but it's so even more important when you're in this, pandemic time. I mean, it kind of smacked us all, in the face, and even like brought up, issues that you might have been dealing with, prior to it, but this was a stressful, I mean, we've been in a stressful time, when I sit back and think about, just the pandemic, and then it was just all these offshoots of the pandemic, really, and how it affected people personally and family members, and not just with, the illness itself, just all the, outside things that kind of became in like a pressure
and-
cooker,
yeah,
you know,
right, yeah.
and exploded. So it's just a lot. And that's why, you know, I think that, you know, when this is all said and done, and it will be, you know, it's just the after effects of things are really what I think, you know, we need to focus on and pay attention to, because I think a lot of people are gonna have, you know, kind of like the battle scars of surviving, you know, this whole kind of
Right.
world and just processing what in the heck just happened, you know?
Right.
It's
So the important thing, and you bring up a good point, is, you know, how are we going to look at this going forward? Are we going to look at this like this is going to be tough? We are, you know, how nothing's going to be the same, or can we look at it as kind of, you know, being more mindful? You know, how can you make it better? How can we turn it into, I mean, you know, I don't want to say this positive, wonderful, incredible
Yeah.
thing, but, you know, in a positive direction, instead of looking at the past. And, you know, I mean, listen, a lot of things did happen. You know, we had a lot of horrible things, people losing their jobs, family members, illness, you know, but, you know, things that were positive did happen. I think families were brought closer together, and, you know, we realized that we can get by with, you know, not all, you know, the materialistic things that we were just kind of going over the top with. So maybe we can, you know, look at some of the positive things that did come out of it, and, you know, by no means, you know, kind of
I believe that there's also things that have to be addressed with positive solutions that come out of this. All right. And mainly I'm thinking about, there are many people that are hidden right now. They're in the house by themselves. I'll call them the wounded, if you will, in the war. And that's true of the people who have been in nursing homes for the last year. I think there's got to be a focus somewhere about those kinds of scenarios. How do you take the sting out of that as much as you can? And Project Independence tries, and, you know, with the social workers and the nurses making the phone calls and whatnot. But there's got to be other ways, like maybe technology has to be not of the type that I have to be the technical guru, but maybe, and it doesn't have to be Project Independence, but maybe somebody helps somebody set up a simple technology system that I can use. I can't use the word Alexa, but
it's a whisper so she doesn't hear.
She'll respond too.
She just went on. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop.
I like how Otto did that.
I just say, Alexa, zip it. That's
I like that.
Yeah, but my point being, these are people that really, you know, are hurt during this whole thing. Like last week, we had somebody on about macular degeneration. Since that show, I've heard there's a lot more people around with macular degeneration than I ever realized. All right, there are different levels of it, which really contributes to a homebound really having a problem, because now they become visually impaired. And if you lose your vision and you're in the house by yourself, now you got a real problem. You know, and, you know, that kind of thing. You know, how do we help people in those positions a little bit more than we do? You know, you can't visit the home. Maybe we got to figure out a way that you can visit the home. With
Absolutely, Otto. I think you're right. There are a lot of
mask or whatever.
Yeah, there has to be, you know, because I know Otto and myself, you know, from the very beginning, you know, of this whole thing, we're talking about that, because it was just the concept of all these people who were left to say, like, sorry, you're in the nursing home. Unfortunately, no family can visit you. Or, you know, it's just like, well, you know, it is what it is. You know, but I think Otto's so right that, you know, being put in this world, and like I said, obviously there was a lot, you know, we had to figure out, you know, quickly, you know, but it's these steps that I think need to be researched and figured out, because I know there has to be some kind, I wish I had the exact answer, you know, but that has to be, you know, kind of altered to figure out, so that these people, because that is really the worst part, are the people that were just, you know, kind of been like, sorry, no one can see you. And you're the most vulnerable in reality, you know? So it's it was a very difficult thing, but I think that that's something going forward that really needs to be looked at, in a bigger sense, because
Or you can die by yourself, which
well,
happens
because that's,
too.
I mean, I can't even, because that
Yeah.
to me was just the most, heartbreaking thing.
But
I
I mean,
think-
hopefully something, and I'm not sure, we don't have the magic answers. There's obviously got to be some organized effort to come out of it. Like you said, the positives. Zoom is definitely a positive. There's no question about it.
Right.
We couldn't be doing what we're doing right now if that didn't really develop and come out of it. But there are people who, like this macular degeneration. Again, they can't see the screen, they can't see the keyboard, they can't see the phone. They can't read. So now what? Okay, as an example. You can't visit the people in the nursing home because you can't be in person. Well, maybe we got to have a way to be in person.
No, I agree. Especially, we're all always saying through this whole thing, we're all in this together, but it's, but what about the person that can't, really be in it? And I think that that's something that I hope, and I think like it's certainly, we know in Project Independence, obviously, it's something that we talk about all the time. And I, in a bigger sense, obviously, is where these things can really change and be more connected, and I hope that that's something that will certainly come out, because even for the fact of, yes, it's super helpful in a pandemic, to have these technology things, but it's also good for the person who is just living alone in general, to kind of have this new world of being it. And Otto and myself were talking offline about, people with low vision problems and what kind of services are out there for them to use this kind of, thing, if it's not the same kind of thing, if there's a different, modification or whatnot. So I think these are all important things to make everyone feel, a part of it and a unit going forward. So.
Yeah. It's, I like something will have to come out of it. I mean, it's probably always been the toughest nut to crack.
Yeah.
Isolated seniors and then again, because of COVID, we've had active seniors who
now
have
we're
also become isolated.
Yeah.
So, for the first time in their, senior lives, we have very active seniors and some of them don't drive.
Yeah.
And they rely on, public transportation or anything else. I mean, of course, Project Independence, we have our food shopping and medical visits, but, there's also the social component to their lives and visiting family members. So, I think that, there's going to be a lot, I hate to say it this way, but I think there's going to be a lot of PTSD.
Yeah, 100%.
So we need to prepare for that in for every generation. Some young person who is experiencing this,
because I think it affected people, because unfortunately I clearly think about these things more often than I probably should. But, it's just how it's affected people, and I think that there's people who aren't even fully aware of how it affected them, like it's, obviously I'm constantly thinking about, all these things, but it's, it's the people that it has just shocked, and I sit back and I look at all the things that have happened during this time. And like I'm saying, it's not even just, people who have gotten the virus. It's really like the people who have just been affected just emotionally, and you can't really deal with anything properly because we're in this weird time, so it's just a lot to take in, for everyone. So it's definitely, I think the mental health component really needs to be stepped up, and to be, put at the forefront of this, because, all along we've been saying that, frankly, to me is just as important as, your, physical, health. Certainly it's the mental health that I think is just as, it's all part of that kind of picture of things. So you just have to call back for mindfulness tips, guys. I think we'll just
absolutely. I'd be happy to do that. And also Project Independence has always been in the forefront anyway. Yes. So we have social workers, people can certainly call. We continue with our advisory groups, that should be, maybe something we talk about down the road is, what do we do when everything is quote unquote, as normal as it can be, and people are, kind of suffering from the experience.
Yeah, and it's like, I was even thinking, we've been back at work now for a while, a bunch of us. So, which I'm happy about to start extent because I'm kind of got, my groove, it's not, I think about myself, I'm a young person, but we were remote for so long, and just the idea of like going back into an office, you had to kind of like readjust your whole way of thinking because you've been, for how long were we home, Beck? 6 months? I don't even know how long.
Yeah. Oh, 6 months solid.
And it's just, so like to get used to, so I think about the people who even more so, have really been isolated. I mean, like, look what you were saying about your mom, it's like stepping into a grocery store, is like an adjustment, so it's like these things that you kind of did at the drop of a hat, now become more of a thing. And I think that the person too, or rightfully so, certain people had to kind of really shelter themselves, it's affects you, because you forget these kind of basic skills. I was just watching a show the other day with people at a restaurant and they were like, I don't even remember how to like order food, like at a restaurant, so it's all these little things, but I mean, especially for the person who really has been completely, for the most part, isolated.
Well, I think part of that also is that that person now, and you use your mother as an example, probably has had less movement as a result of that. She hasn't gone out to the store or a restaurant or whatever, and even that may not be big, but it's a little bit of exercise as opposed to being in your house all the time.
I just have to give a shout out to my mom because she actually has been exercising every day. She just walks in the backyard and she really, I think like in terms of her fitness, she committed to it. She was afraid
but that's
to be too
important.
sedentary.
But that's important. I think that, it could have went, it went one, and I've seen that, obviously, I mean, we all laugh about gaining quarantine weight, that's always like the running joke, but then I think there's the other people too that have been, just to get your immune system going and stuff, trying to do. Listen, I certainly been walking more than normal, what else was I really going to do? So it was like a nice little breather, to do that during the whole pandemic, so I think like it certainly could have gone, either way, for people. So
so like how could one be mindful in this situation? Like if we were to say, if you're like sitting around your house and you're like, this stink, oh my God, when's it? You know what? You're right. It is. We are all in a unfortunate situation. It is unfair, but this is our hand right now. How can we make it better? It's like kind of just accept the routine. My friend Mike, he's a he's a health coach. He coaches people, and he, one of the things he talks about is every day have a journal for yourself. Write down what you're going to do every day. Have a guide. Let that guide kind of, and stick to it. Even if it's like you're going to put down, wake up in the morning, have breakfast, do your dishes, do a little exercise. Maybe you're going to watch a show.
I agree 1,000%. If you don't have a purpose or identify something when you wake up, you're going to wake up and you're going to say, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And I'll have a lot of people, unfortunately, that tell me they're bored, very bored. I haven't had that problem. I'm lucky. But I could see how it could happen if you don't identify things to do. You're going to be bored. There's no doubt about it. And that's not good.
Yeah, and I think it's hard because, like we said, the mental health component goes, and a lot of people got, sunk into a depression, this thing. So it makes it harder for you to kind of, get that motivation. So it's all, connected.
Right. All right. Well, we have to go to break. We'll be right back with Project Independence and You, Senior Talk Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
And welcome back to Project Independence and You here at WCWP.org. I can't believe this is the last 15 minutes. And, happy birthday to Kristina Lou.
Well,
Usually,
I just happened.
Okay, I'm breaking into the show.
okay.
Here we go. Okay.
I'll put my tiara on for the last segment.
No, I have to first wish you a happy birthday because I won't. We don't have it in studio this year. And second, my Easter care package that arrived on my porch yesterday from the Easter Bunny
Yes, that
included 3 of my favorite things.
I listen. I'm a very good listener.
I know you're a great listener. Dark russet potato chips, Milky Ways, and a cosmic brownie. Are you kidding me? You realize the cosmic brownie has the caloric intake of an entire day's.
I know. I'll never forget how excited you were the first time I brought in cosmic brownies to the studio. So it's really stuck in my brain.
Every
What's
time
in a
my
cosmic
youngest
brownie?
It's made by Little Debbie.
Yeah.
It's a little. It's a. When my youngest goes to 7-Eleven, he always comes back with 2. He goes, "Dad, you want one?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm trying to keep my cholesterol somewhere around 2,000."
That's all right. It's it's the holiday. And let me tell you, these dark. We had a very big conversation, Rebecca, about the dark russet potato chips.
Oh. Boy,
So I have to give a special shout out because I shared this information with my mom, with Barbara, because she loves a new snack. She's always since I was a child been finding the latest. So I was talking about it and saying, Dan said these potato chips taste like all American, like French fries. So she's like, she was in the supermarket because I said, Ma, keep an eye out for these chips. I got to put these in the care package. And Barbara did find them. So I have to give a special shout out to Barbara for finding them.
Barbara.
I give a special shout too because I got a bag of them myself.
That's right. I guess I get. And they also had a little Hope Rock because I thought, and an Easter mask because
and Milky Way, which I've already knocked off a few.
Yeah, I've knocked off a few.
They talked about their love of Milky Ways also, Rebecca, last week. So I had to make sure
You're so good.
Beck's Easter gifts are on her desk as well. Work. She
Now for your birthday, I understand you receive a dumpster for your birthday.
Yes. Isn't that wonderful?
Well,
that's a great gift from your husband.
Well,
a
I have to
dumpster.
say, tomorrow's my birthday. So tomorrow we're doing brunch. So, we'll have our fancy little brunch tomorrow. And the weather's supposed to be beautiful, which I'm very excited about. So the man upstairs, hooked me up for tomorrow. But I've been talking about, my journey into mindfulness as well as my journey into organizing my life. Because that's something I've really been trying to do, throughout this whole pandemic. It started off small with like my mugs and my utensil drawers, but my husband and I have just been talking for a while saying we really need to get a dumpster for our garage, just because, we don't have a basement. So all of our stuff is in the garage. And I'm actually impressed. It's actually tidier. If everyone knows the amount of things I accumulate, for different holidays and gatherings. So, but we got a dumpster for Monday and Tuesday, and I'm actually really looking forward to it because that is something that has just made me feel good during this time and I think it's because I've been striving, to have kind of where I can clear my head, doing that.
Do you and Jay have the ability to let go, or are you going to analyze
my husband
every item
real quick? Jay can just purge like no tomorrow. I, on the other hand, am the one that, and I'm also, I think and I plan because things that he may call junk one day, I will whip out, and all of a sudden it's not junk anymore. So it's finding that balance. I certainly have gotten better. It's something I've actively.
Are you going to do before and after pictures? I just want to make sure that we're going to see.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I'm hoping.
Good thinking.
The after is actually going to be. That's my fear. Is that like the after happens and I'm like I'm not sure exactly what I did. But we really, we're going. This is going to be a big project because I'm
like is the hoarder show involved or you're going to be more
right? I'm a little. I'm a hoarder with a label maker. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know you. I know you well.
So I certainly I can find all the stuff that I need because that will throw me really for a loop. But, we want to kind of get stackable bins and transport, if you guys could only see the amount of organizing Instagram pages I follow, that's kind of become my new thing. And my mom laughed at me because for Christmas, normally I'll ask for clothes or jewelry. And I had asked for just all this organizing, like different things. I wanted like space saver bags, different cubes. And so that's kind of become my new jam. So I'm fingers crossed.
Is this a big dumpster or a small dumpster?
It's I think Jay got it like a 10-foot one. So we'll see. I'm hoping actually that I have so much stuff that I just got rid of that like we're gonna have to call special pickup also, you know?
Well, they could probably come and dump it twice if need be.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just excited to kind of get some kind of organization for for us. So it's fun. Like I said, that has been kind of my therapy throughout this whole thing.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is the goal to actually get a car in the garage, or is that just going to be out of the question?
Like Jay, he's like, because of my husband and his cars and his, ATV toys, he's like, oh, hopefully I'm going to clear space. That's his goal. My goal might be slightly different than his goal.
Yeah.
And I see him, walking around outside. So we'll see. We'll see how this all plans out. That's his hope in things. My hope is just to have more space that I'm able to like kind of drag out my Easter bin of decorations. But we shall see. So I said we just have to get through it, not arguing. We need to just get through it with a positive headspace. I was like, you need me to let me do because I'm usually the solo organizer. So I'm having him in there might, impede my thing. I might have to keep him outside to do like the heavy lifting or something. But we'll see. So that is, my exciting next week plan. So
it's so cool.
I'll have a good update for you guys on Friday.
You are the most extreme organizer. I mean, our office we know when the seasons change, when holidays come. I mean, you name it, the entire office is decorated like, the week before. Well, so, and my favorite is when it's summer, because she's got these like beautiful flip-flop like candy dishes that come out on the table, and everything's summer. And then, it's sad when fall comes because then they go away and out come the leaves and everybody's doors decorated differently.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm certainly the firm believer in the little things, right? The little things are the things I can control or manage. For a better word. So it's I think it's important, to do those.
Do you have a shed?
We do have a shed, yes. But that I don't even go near the shed because that's Jay's, expensive tool area. So I don't even want to know what goes on in there. But it's and like I said, we have a very big, beautiful. Our garage is very big, luckily. So it's but we'll see. I have a lot of photo albums, so that's the thing. It's going to be intense, because I have my baby albums that my mom had from, all of us growing up as kids. That's on a shelf in the garage. And then in my spare room, I have, all my endless photo albums over the years that like I had to kind of stop, doing everything because it was getting a little excessive. So I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of have that because I'm definitely not parting with those. Like that's just a flat thing. There is something about that hard copy of a photo album that I will never get rid of. So
have you digitized it at all?
Yeah, most of them are digitized, but it's still just not the same vibe. Like I like to look at listen, I don't do them for special occasions. I'll do it. I mean, I used to take and a lot of those things are from, disposable cameras and whatnot, but most of them are online now. But it's just there's stickers and memory things, so there's no way those are ever going anywhere in my world. So I'm going to try and figure out how to do that. So
I have a photo album of pictures my mother took when she came over on the boat in 1927, and she organized them in an album. So obviously I got that from my mother.
Yep.
But my father was also an organized guy. And I added a narration to the book for as much as I knew about this whole thing.
So Otto, you're the best.
But this book is old, and I didn't want to take the pictures out and whatever. I just wanted to leave it intact, if you will.
Yeah, I know, because there's.
So I have not digitized these pictures as a result.
You know what I think? I think that you need to have a show, and the topic should be like kind of memorabilia.
Yep.
And everybody can talk about or bring something in.
We'll have like show and tell. We'll do like
a show and tell.
Show and tell.
Kristina, we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday. You deserve it. You're so
I have to thank Otto. I had, everyone's talking about me dropping off my little Easter Bunny gifts, but I have to thank Otto Lowe's. All of a sudden I walked out the door to a package, and we have so many people that live in our house. And no one even knew. I was like, he's quite the ninja. I'm not sure how he snuck in there and dropped off a beautiful, thoughtful gift. That was just so lovely.
Well, I figured I would drag it out a little bit.
He did.
Packaged it.
And I was gonna say that too. He had it was like in a box, in another box, wrapped, and then in another. I was super impressed with, I love presentation. So I got to give an A+ for that Otto and Bunny presentation.
Yeah, but otherwise the gift takes up very little room. So
I loved it, Otto. I was very excited. I should have had myself videotaped opening it because I was like, what is that? I was like a little kid.
And I bubble wrapped it too. So
it was very
a lot of care going on here. Unfortunately, we only have like a couple of minutes left to the show.
Yes,
so
and
I know
Supervisor Judy Bosworth is going to be on next week. We are very excited. She's going to be doing a recap of her State of the Town, which is really going to be super informative. I want to also remind people that all of our exercise classes, our social groups, Technology for the Terrified, all these different programs, if you just call 311 or 869-6311, you can get the latest information about all those programs.
I have a question about the Blankets of Love, it's called.
Mhm.
Do they do that virtually now?
Yes.
Everybody kind of.
They pick up.
I have a
yarn
cousin
from
who
us.
wants to join that.
Yes,
He doesn't have
one.
He doesn't have a computer. All right. So
Okay.
she's going to have to wait until you're back to
but
the
you know
real
what?
world.
No, she could call in.
Yeah, she calls it Andrea Taylor. We'll call her back, and get her connected, because even if she's on the phone, she could still get the yarn and whatnot.
and does her own thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Is that
great
how it works though? Everybody knits like a square
Yes.
of this whole thing?
Yeah, so and they change it up too. I mean, they are like, they whip those blankets up like no tomorrow. It's amazing. But it's a wonderful program. And I just think everyone should check
I
that
got a
out.
good article in one of the newspapers.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very social. It's really
Yeah.
a wonderful way to talk to everybody. I hosted it once and a couple of times, and people, they talk about everything, and everybody in this group is so crafty, and
Yeah.
like they talk about all the projects they're making, and not just the knitting and the crocheting, but it's like a whole bunch of it. So well, we're down to the last minute of the show.
I
Oh
saw
my
Dan
God.
that time too.
You saw it, Dan, that time. So it was just a great journey, this show.
It was.
Notice the fun there, but the fun there. The show was a great journey, talking about mindfulness with you guys, who were just wonderful. And thanks to Dan Cox and Kristina Liu, the wonderful radio show producer, and Otto Los, the fabulous co-host and ongoing co-host, and everybody who's listening. And happy birthday to Kristina. And next week, Project Independence and You will have Supervisor Judy Bosworth. So please listen in. Have a great weekend.
Thanks,
Take care,
Dad.
all.